So I said to you during the CLAP acronym that you have to think about audience and environment. And I think sometimes we don't think about audience enough. The 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself before any interaction that is of any level of importance is the following. 1, what do you want to get out of it? So if I'm making a podcast, what is it that I want to get out of this podcast? Is it raise my profile? Is it impress the people that I'm speaking to? Is it that I want to get a job out of this coffee meeting that we're having? What is it that I want to get out of it? The second question is, what is it that you want them to remember? The person or the people that you're speaking to, your audience. What is it that you want them to remember? What's the one message that you want them to get from you? Is it a feeling? Is it a thought? Is it an action? What is the one thing you want them to do or think or feel or remember from that interaction? And thirdly, and really importantly, who are you talking to? So you can make some assumptions. You can make tiny assumptions. If you're talking to a business owner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you've got an hour with them, then maybe spending 55 minutes to get to your point is not the way to go. They'll have just had their lunch, they're in their 3 o'clock slump, they're probably going to be a bit like this. You literally have that first 5 minutes. If you are speaking on stage at a conference, what can you expect from the people in the audience? You've been to conferences before, I'm sure. In fact, let's do this. Let's do this right now. What I want you to do is I want you to, again, get a pen and paper, and I just want you to brainstorm in your own mind. What is it like being in an audience? I'll give you a couple of minutes to write this down. What are the things that you're doing? When you're in the audience at a conference, for example, how much are you actually listening? What are you listening for? Are there any distractions? What is it that you're drawn to in that moment? And who are the people that keep you engaged? Keep on writing them down. Now, I know from being in the audience, there are certain things that keep me engaged. First of all, at the beginning of the day, I know that I'm going to be listening better. If it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, I might have stuff on, so I might be checking my phone a little bit just to check my emails. I also know that because I'm doing that maybe I'm not listening to what's going on stage. One of the things that people really worry about when they go and do a talk, especially at a conference, they really worry about being asked a question that they can't answer. And someone once said to me, in all his years of conference speaking, what he worked out was that actually no one's really listening. And so if they're not really listening attentively, who's going to put their hand up and ask a question? Because it might be that you said it, but they missed it. So it can really help your worries if you start thinking about what's it actually like to be in the audience. The other thing is that being in the audience, you need moments, don't you, that draw you back in. You might get distracted by your phone, but something will happen that means that you're back in. So as a speaker, what is it? What are the things that you can do that means that you are truly engaging your audience? Well, here's something that I want to share with you. This is a bit of an audience engagement model that I have. I think of it in relationship terms as well. But here we go. Bear with me. I think when it comes to having impact with your audience, you need them to do some work. That's what true impact is, right? So pretend this is you as presenter and this is you as audience. You need to meet in the middle, which means that you do some work, but they have to do some work too, so that then they're constantly engaged. You'll know from doing your video meetings that there are things that you have to do to make sure that people aren't just checking their emails off to the side. Do you know what I mean? So one of the things that you can do here is you can make sure in those video meetings, if you're doing a webinar, things are moving along at quite a pace because they don't have the chance to then look away and be distracted. They have to do the work to keep up with you, right? This is why story can be so important, because actually that's where you allow people's brains to do some of the work. They can make up their own minds, so they come to you. This is why interaction, I'm sure when you did your What Makes a Great Speaker, you included interaction. Getting people engaged, getting people talking really quickly is a great way to get them to do some work. Asking that poignant question is a great way for their brain to do work, because this can happen otherwise. If, as the presenter, you are doing loads of work, so you're doing lots of telling, lots of listening, lots of talking, your audience doesn't have to do any work. And so you've lost them. If you're working so hard and you're filling a space, you've lost them. I find this when I do some facilitation. I host a meet and chat with some listeners to my podcast. And it's really lovely. It's all online. It's an international thing. Great fun. And I've spent months worrying that I need to make sure I'm giving them all the content. I'm telling them all the stories and I'm guiding them through everything. And actually, all they want to do is talk to each other and they want to be engaged. And they walk away feeling like $1 million and they think that this person was brilliant and that they're part of a community and they're able to engage. So I've had true impact with them because I've actually had to go, let them do some talking. The other thing that can happen on the flip side of that is that if you, as the presenter, only do a little bit of work, then your audience has to do loads and it's just too much. And this is when you don't really bother with thinking about your content or your structure. This happens when you think you can just get away with doing it and it'll be fine. And you don't have that extra example. You're just talking top layer stuff. So don't make your audience work too hard because they won't. Don't make them not do any work because they won't be with you any longer. But finding this middle ground of audience engagement is really important. And when it comes to rehearsal and delivery, I'll talk to you a little bit about how body language and vocal tone can really help bring your audience back in. So in summary, thinking about the audience, what's going on in the audience? Well, they're probably only partially listening anyway, so don't worry about them asking you questions that you don't know the answer to because there's a good chance that they won't in the first place. Secondly, make sure that they are actively engaged. So active engagement comes from storytelling, it comes from asking them questions, it's from getting them to do stuff, it's from actually listening to them as well and making sure that they have to do some work so that you can have true engagement and impact with them.